hands-on look back in November 2024, and since then I've participated in a few subsequent closed tests along with the more open server slam that they held recently. And yeah, the game, it's pretty darn good. Now time will tell if it lives up to like the longer term expectations, of course, but at the very least I am pretty confident it's going to give me a bunch of fun over the next couple weeks here, and I am genuinely excited and looking forward to that. Like, I'm pumped to jump back into the game. But why? Like, what is it about Arc Raiders that has managed to get this much buzz and excitement compared to any of the other PvEVP extraction games that we have seen come and go over the past several years? There's definitely a few things that stand out to me the most. Number one, easily one of the biggest standout features and elements of this game is its PvE. More specifically, the AI enemies. These aren't just heaps of metal that point and shoot. They are varied, they are interesting, and they're a serious threat like most of the time. So there are several ground-based variants. First, you've got the tick, which scurries around and will cling to your face, sort of acting like a soft crowd control. Then there's the fireball, a rolling flamethrower that blasts fire in your face. You've got Pop, which will try to roll up close to you and explode. There's a leaper that can cover large distances quite quickly and literally just tries to jump on top of you, smashing you into the ground. And then you've got the bigger kind of lumbering ground ones like the Bastion, which is slow and tanky with these heavy machine guns, or the Bombardier, which does exactly what it sounds like. It is essentially a mobile artillery. There's the flying creatures with the Wasp, who's quick and uses these light machine guns, the Hornet, which will electrocute you, locking you in place, the Rocketeer, which very quickly can overwhelm you by firing rockets in quick succession, and the Snitch, which will scan for players and if spotted sends out these loud distress signals, not only alerting other players to your presence, but also calling in reinforcement robots. And then finally, you've got the boss variant, which is the Queen, this gargantuan bot that appears to require multiple teams to actually realistically take down. I have never seen one be eliminated in any time I've encountered them in my games. Now, I remember reading an article a few years ago about how the developer was creating this really interesting tech in order to try to make their PvE enemies smart and deadly, and whatever it is they did, it worked. These are some of the most interesting AI opponents that I've fought against in a long while, and for a PvP extraction game, it is easily the best AI in one of these games that I've ever seen. And with that in mind, I will once more reference the fact that originally Arc Raiders was intended to be entirely cooperative PvE focused. There was no PvP extraction in like the original vision for this game when they began development. So they were building this AI with that end in mind. But then, as we now know, years ago they decided to make a genre swap, and the result is now we have an extraction game with AI enemies originally designed for a PvE focused game. And it absolutely shows in a gameplay. It's awesome. And this is exactly what I'm talking about here. This is the kind of situation that happens. So there's a jumper crawling down into the pit. Kind of fiddling its way through, chasing him through a pipe. Like, it's so cool, dude. It's just so, I don't know, it's just so interesting. I don't even know exactly what it is about it. It's something about the way they move, the way they sound, and specifically the way they act.
Soon arrive.
Look at that.
Do not succumb to the chaos.
It's so good, dude.
Vengeance is Raptor's name.
And it's a team wipe.
Champion has fallen.
It literally is a team wipe. You know what it is too? PvE enemies in so many of these games, they tend to just feel so simplistic. Just stuff that actively trains. So you'll aggro an enemy most of the time. All you have to do is run however many meters away, and then it's just done. And the enemy turns back eventually. They reach the end of their leash, whatever it is, and then they go back to their original position and they start reloading again. Now, there are circumstances where you can get, like, I believe there'll be places that the jumper can't get into, so if you go under a full tunnel, then it can fit through, then it will go back. But if it has a path, an obvious path to you, and it's still aggro to you, and it doesn't get drawn attention from somebody else, it's going to keep going after you, and that's exactly what this is. And again, that adds a lot. This is really a big part of what makes Fusion special, as far as I'm concerned. It's really something interesting. And it's not even just like how the AI focuses and reacts to enemies with you. That is impressive in and of itself. but also the extra layer of realism that they've created with how these things move, whether it's scurrying along the ground, leaping over gaps, or hovering in the air. Their movement looks incredibly realistic, even more so once you start damaging them, moving parts. They will react accordingly, like the ground-based ones will adjust to walk on one less leg if you remove it, or the flying ones will tilt and whirl if you shoot off one of their propellers, eventually learning to adjust and rebalance themselves with that missing propeller in mind. It's just so cool and adds a huge sense of immersion. It makes it all feel very real. And then also, as mentioned, these are a serious, legitimate threat. Even just on their own, those robots are totally capable of killing you if you are not paying attention to avoid getting shot and focusing on targets. But then you also throw in top the PvP aspect of this, and it's just like, it's crazy. In fact, I'll say this, you will 100% die to AI enemies at some point after winning a PvP fight. It is going to happen eventually, like without question. It's probably going to happen quite a few times, in fact. They are just that deadly, and they're going to be attracted to all the noise that is made while engaged in shootouts with other players. So what this means, though, in turn, is that you have to account for them showing up at some point during or after any fight and be prepared to either eliminate them or to run and hide so you can heal or whatever. In fact, these things are so effective at killing players that it's become like a fairly big point of contention. Just the other week, there was an interesting conversation about the difficulty of the art. Reddit said, do not nerf these arts. YouTubers call it the art robot nerfs. The moment you do that is the moment the game becomes generic and attractive. The art is key to what makes this game so special. Turn the tide of any encounter, the most dictating patterns of play for players, and that's basically exactly what I'm talking about. It is the addition into the equation of the difficulty of the PvE engine, of the art, that adds to how players are acting in the game. Like, whether or not you're going to engage that group of 2 players that you see looting, if you also notice there's a bombardier and a couple of wasps flying nearby, knowing that if you start shooting, they're going to look at you and start beelining it for you, that's just something else to account for, in addition to the calculations and the decision-making that you're doing when you're seeing those 2 players shooting bodies and you're trying to third-party them at the last minute. It's something else to account for, and I absolutely agree. I think that this is a large part of what makes the game interesting, what adds, it's just another layer. A lot of times in these interactive games, yes, it is the case that you don't really have to consider the PvE, or at least there's easy enough to avoid. So I'm right there with them. Like, I totally agree about this. You'll see people pretty upset after winning a PvP fight only to get obliterated by a rocketeer. And I use this specific example because it happens to me multiple times. Be in a fight with other players, win, and then there's rockets will be hailing down, and like, oh god, I'm dead, and try to come res me, and then my teammate died. We're done with the match, and we gotta start all over again. So it happens. But honestly, while it can be frustrating in the moment, I think it's also a big part of the appeal of this game. If you ask me, the fact that the PvE enemies are such a threat, it's one of the reasons people have taken to this game. That's just my opinion. I just quite like it. I quite like kind of the extra tension on top of the already existing tension that PvP has. I like the additional main PvE is also going to play another thing that this game absolutely nails is its atmosphere. Between the visual and audio presentation, this is just a great looking and sounding game. Visually, the whole thing has also a really nice level of clarity to it. I'm not exactly sure how to describe this, but I feel like a lot of games that I've been playing recently kind of look muddy or blurry at times. A lot of it might be down to the process of DLSS that are used in a lot of the games. But Art Raiders, it is just clear and crisp and healthy. Nice coloring. It looks really good. Also, my god, the lighting is fantastic. From the changes that occur outside based on weather to the lighting from electronic sources, but even more so, the lighting that pours into your windows and doors into interior spaces, it just looks phenomenal. Like, this is some of the best looking lighting that I've ever seen. It just looks so good. And those visuals coupled with some great sound design between the environmental sounds, character movements, and the unsettling beeps and boops of those very deadly robots in the world, all of this just works towards building this atmospheric feeling for the game, especially for a competitive multiplayer game. It is just very immersive. Again, it kind of feels like it was originally a PvE game because it was originally a PvE game, but now it's got the PvP element. So you've got the super immersive, what was once just PvE focused experience with now competitive PvP thrown in, and it's just been a really nice mix. And this immersion is kind of interesting because to the point where people playing this game solo, it kind of makes it feel almost like a survival horror title. It actually reminds me a little bit of Hunt Showdown in that respect, obviously not leaning actually into the same literal horror elements that Hunt Showdown does, but because the robot threat is so real and because the world is so immersive on top of the real threat of other players, while you're playing solo, it feels like a survival horror game in a lot of ways. Like, you tend to want to avoid getting spotted so you're not swarmed by bots and then calling other players, both of which might result in you dying pretty quickly. So it kind of becomes this game of you trying to stay quiet, get your loot, and simply not draw too much attention to yourself for fear of both those other players. It's just pretty cool in that regard. I also think how they handle the whole lobby and interaction system really adds to this as well, because the games take place on consistent maps that will stay open for X amount of minutes, and you can come and go from matches that are already in progress anytime you're in a game that has started some minutes ago. Now, with also having multiple extraction points up at all times rather than just a couple at the very end of the game or something, this gives players a lot of freedom. If you're able, you can take a mission and quickly leave, or you can stay for a long while. It's kind of very interesting. And also, there's no closed circle-like mechanic in this game, something that will force players to also with tighter play space. Oftentimes, the game will use this to try to push player conflict, which is players in a very small area. But this game doesn't have that. So a lot of times, you can choose if you want to get into PvP fights or not, quite literally by deciding when you hear gunshots, do I walk towards it or do I walk away from it? Or if I hear players nearby, do I just sit still in a dark corner? And what this means is that for players who want a slower pace with less PvP interaction, they can literally do exactly that, sneaking around, looting, staying quiet, and then just extracting from one of the many different extraction points that the game has. Hell, I mean, you could even very well get into and out of matches collecting some loot without firing a single shot. It's totally possible, and I think this opens up the game to be more appealing to a wider audience of players, different players with different playstyles, rather than just the people who want to go in and straight up PvP right away. Also, I don't have a lot to say on this next point, but I think it's not very overstated. Performance in this game is like I don't think in all of the testing that I've done, many hours that I've already played, I can't recall like a single performance issue. No frame drops, no hitching, no rubber banding, just no issues whatsoever. It runs so well, and that adds a lot to the experience. Many games nowadays will have at least some, even if they're tiny, they will have some amounts of performance hiccups behind the games or constant performance issues. Arc Raiders, it runs smooth as butter, and again, that adds a lot to already a great simple game. This next point here is probably going to be a divisive one. In fact, I can guarantee it, but I'll just say personally, I prefer third-person shooters. I like first-person shooters, but if I have the choice, I tend to enjoy third-person games more. Now, I get that there is a very strong argument against third-person in games with PvP, you know, the whole being able to see players around corners and all without them seeing you, but also everyone has that advantage. It just kind of gives us like more advantage on a high. You have to stay quiet, but again, I also in fact, I will point out the fact that yes, Arc Raiders is easily one of the most hyped up and anticipated extraction games that we have seen in years, and it just so happens to also be a third-person shooter. Now, I'm not saying it's the main reason why people are so pumped with the game. I won't say that for sure. In fact, I just went over what I think are many of the main reasons why the game is so good and why people are so good. But I'm just throwing it out there. This is one of the most hyped up arcade extraction games, and it is a third-person shooter. Now, if Arc Raiders first-person would it be even more popular and anticipated than it currently is, I'm sure a lot of people out there would say yes. As for me, I don't know. I'm not sure. But again, selfishly, I like third-person. gave interesting loot in the last test. They provided a travel hook for the first time, and it was awesome. They also don't have overly complicated consumables, like you'll have a lot of extraction games that have different rarities of ammunition. So you've got like whatever 5.56 ammo, and then there's common, rare, common, uncommon, rare, and epic. Like I don't want a cadence, honestly. But yeah, that's the whole point. A lot of those pretty straightforward and easy to understand. We also have a really good quick load option where you can instantly drop in. And they've got some interesting progressions too. All of this stuff has resulted in a very high level of flame. It also seems, as a result of these things and some of the stuff that we here, to be appealing to a bit of a different audience from that also appealing to many of those fans. If anything, I feel like the hardcore extraction fan base, if there's been any big complaint from them, it's probably going to be the third-person elements of the game. And I've heard a lot of complaints about how hard the PvE is from some of that. At least I'll just say people that I know, those have been there too. They like it, except for the third person, and they hate winning people like but from my perspective, I'm like, I really like that. Just stop being so greedy and pushing for PvP fights. You gotta also pay attention to PvE. That's a new element. It's something else to consider. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. And while we're talking about how these games, like, looking forward to it, highly anticipated, I just want to clarify, this isn't just a vibe thing either. In fact, you can look here on Steam TV, where we're looking at some of the most listed upcoming games. You can see Arc Raiders here at number 3, 246, almost 247,000 wish list. This puts them just behind Deadlock and Subnautica 2, and actually a fair bit above Light on Fire, which is genuinely surprising. A lot of people have this game wish list. Very, very highly anticipated right now. But then also, I was just kind of curious, like, how is this game stacking up on Google Trends? Not exactly the best metric, but it is a game that people should take a look at. And if you take a look here, I put up a chart of over the next 12 months, and I threw a few popular extraction games up there. Tarkov certainly was more popular back in late December 2004. It was trending downward, and just as of early October, bypassed by Arc Raiders is now significantly search term. This includes Google searches, which does also encompass well. But then if you remove Tarkov and you take a look at any of the other kind of popular extraction game competition, I mean, it's not even close. Like, so Tarkov is still, you know, over the course of the past 12 months, Tarkov has certainly been a more searched term, but every other survival game, like, doesn't even touch it remotely. Like, not even close. And I put Marathon Game in there just out of curiosity. Just put just Marathon Game on Arc Raiders and see how it's like. People talking, it's just not looking good for Marathon. I want all games to be good games, so I do hope Marathon turns itself around and they use all of their own art as well. That would be wonderful. Debacle that was, huh? 99% of the Arc Raiders community, apparently. Hey, yes, there I am. Look, it's a photo of me and my friends on the bench. If this is a boomer game, I'm all here for it, man. I'm all here. Hey, again, it's one of the most anticipated PvE extraction games like we've ever seen. I've not seen this much hype around an extraction game in a very, very long time. Bungie couldn't do it with Marathon, that's for sure. So call it a boomer game, fine. You also get like a lot of fun and funny RP moments in this game, I've noticed. Whoa, 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 whoa.
See that? I don't want to do that. I'm totally cool just pretending that didn't happen. If you are too, this is me coming in, alright? I'm going to be friendly. Be cool. Can you see me? I see you. Alright, cool. You can hear me. You don't have a microphone. Nice. You can use, are you on,
Takes cold
head gestures.
Do not make me regret choosing you for this mission. Alas, a champion has fallen.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's great. I am just so looking forward to this game. You know, we covered some things here. Some of the stuff that I think may be special. I think there's a lot more and other things that we're going to talk to, maybe a bit more even nuanced than what we're talking about here. But just in general, many of those elements and many more that I've not covered. This game's just doing, it's a nice cake. But the ingredients, a lot of, it's another extraction game, right? Every extraction game, just like every cake, you got flour, you got sugar, you got some eggs, you got some water, but then there's a little extra spice. A little extra spice into the extraction. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Looking forward to it. Hopefully I see you out in Speranza. What is it called? I'll see you in the game. I'll be playing this weekend. And yeah, that's all.
Is this goodbye? No, it's not goodbye. It's not over. Explain yourself. I will. There's some people that are saying some pretty crazy things. I haven't even gone on Twitter. I saw other things in the scam, but I've been around for 10 years now. A lot of you guys know. Pretty far away from stuff at this point, but I'm totally okay with exposing a lot of things and saying things. At this point, I think it's pretty obvious I will not be friends with any of these people after this. Ludwig was right. I am going.
So that's why you're screenshotting and taking notes and trying to find black
To completely separate myself from these people in this community, which is fine, I've already been doing it, but I have hundreds of messages and DMs from people, things that people probably would never want to get released, that are very interesting for everyone, and I will
it's something bad that somebody said, and it's like actually matters. Like it's not somebody saying a word they shouldn't say, but it actually matters. Like, go ahead and release it, but I wouldn't believe anything he would put out.
We found after being with each other that her stalkers had a lot from, would come to her a lot from her short form content. These people were schizophrenic and would think that she is talking to them. Whether it was songs she played, the way she looked at the screen, or just the titles of the videos, these people started to feel she was talking to them and come to our house to stalk them. These people thought in their heads they were dating her. They were out of their mind. I told her, if we're going to be serious about this relationship, I need her to stop posting and to not farm this person. She agreed and understood, and it was a safety concern for not only me.
Trying to get him not to do that, like it really it told her to do this, like and it's also like, I mean, you dated this girl whenever you brought her to the house and she was already doing TikToks like this to begin with. So like you knew what you were getting yourself into, and now you're trying to make her change her content. Now, after everything that we know about him, I think that it's much more likely that the reason why he did that is because those videos, maybe it did annoy him as her boyfriend, but also, like, you got to keep in mind that Miz was also farming content with other girls in real life. Like, he would bring on girls like Jenna Lynn Meowry. He would bring on, I remember Peach Jars would be on the stream, and it wasn't like super sexual, but it wasn't non-sexual either. And like, there was an innuendo there, right? Emily, ST Peach, the Botas. He would bring Alinity, Bandy, right? Yeah, he would bring these girls on all the time. So before we go and we talk about like, oh, well, it's just like a boyfriend who didn't want to be disrespected by his girlfriend, how can you talk about not wanting to be disrespected by your girlfriend when you play that card whenever you have a revolving door of girls around that you bring on to farm as if like there might be something going on? You see what I'm saying? So like, it's the implication of that, right? And so like, really, that it's just bullshit. And so even if you believe that, there's a double standard that he had. So it's like you put the girl that makes TikToks and makes short form content, and you bring her into your house, and you say you're not allowed to do this anymore. Meanwhile, you're doing the same type of stuff, and Miz has his own stalker and his own shit too. It's not like he doesn't deal with this, he deals with it too. And so, at this point, I think that especially now that it's been so openly discussed and revealed that he cares a lot about viewership, I think that it's much more likely that the reason why he didn't want her posting that content is because that content would get her a lot of attention. Because it did. Big surprise. So this is really, like, I mean, you see kind of like, I mean, it's just, it's bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. None of it even makes any sense.
But the house, Russell, Simply, Corey, or anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, that type of a double standard is wrong.
has fallen. Alas, a champion has fallen.
That was in my house or anyone that was near us. She agreed that she wouldn't want to hurt anyone else and knew that posting these types of TikTok posts can mess with us and is something I'm not comfortable with as a guy. So she would tell me not comfortable with it as a guy.
But do you think that she has to be comfortable with you having all those girls on your stream? The same as, by the way, you did to her.
If I had a problem, I'd let her know. And at first, it was minor things here and there. But over time, it got harder and harder to live with. There were more stress on top of it. We both had the high relationships and everything. If anyone found out, why would that happen?
I know why you have. I know why you thought that. You're not going to say why, are you? Let's find out if he says why.
More
Out or was known, I could get in a ton of trouble with OTK and cause a ton of problems.
He would have been totally okay with it. He would have to do it. He would sign something like a total response. He was more worried about his standing in OTK, and he was more worried about making sure that he didn't look bad and lose money in OTK, and that's the reason why he wanted to keep him private. So it wasn't even about her or about, about money and we would have never done that. We would have been like, okay, fine, we're happy to do your job. You just sign this paperwork, and then Emmy also has to sign this paperwork too. It would have been such an easy thing. Because do you think that like we really didn't discuss this ever? Of course we discussed this. Yeah, like that's standard. Yeah, it's standard.
I told her if we're going to be serious about this relationship, I need to stop posting this much.
You see what I'm saying? Like, literally everything about this. It seems like he made you
Impressive. But can you repeat
well, yeah,
your
if somebody tells you 2 plus 2 is 5, how long are you going to sit around and listen to them explain why they're right? Of course I made my mind up, because I know what happened.
On these people. And then there was more stress on top of this. We both had to hide the relationship from everyone. If anyone found out or was known, I can get in a ton of trouble with OTK.
Not have happened. Not happened. The reason why is because you lied. You lied. If you had come out and said this at the beginning, it would not have been a problem. It's the fact that you lied repeatedly, and you forced her and coerced her into the same lie.
And it can cause a ton of problems in my life. So I lied to all of my old friends, S4.5 included, who lived just next door to me, and everyone in OTK. And that was very hard for me to do. We had a doggy door.
Basically, that it's like a waiver that if a person that you're in a relationship with that has a supervisory role over you has something, that you waive a certain type of liability and types of recourse that you can have against a company. Like, I don't know the specifics of it. You can ask an attorney, and they can explain it further. It's like an HR thing. It's very standard. Like, basically for a conflict of interest.
Fight harder.
Or between our rooms, just so we can hide it from everyone else, including my roommate. We would lock the doors so what our roommates find out. As time went on, they found out most of our friends in the Austin circle, they never officially knew. That stress alone would drive anyone mad. But our love for each other was strong, and we knew we could handle it. In September 2022, a lot of you guys know, I was canceled by Trainwreck and others, trying to claim I covered up sexual assault. It was proven wrong, and that destroyed my mental health. I felt like my brain was cracked, and I was never the same since. I was suicidal, depressed, and didn't know what to do with my own life. Every day felt like an absolute nightmare. I was losing OTK, my mental health, and all my
We put you on suspension, and we invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in resources in order to do a third-party investigation to find out whether this happened or not. We invested so much into you in order to make sure that we did you right. That's not true.
She needed to be happy. And she knew sometimes I freaked out. I lashed out, but she loved me, and she knew I was
Like, that's a really quick way to just kind of, you know, just kind of gloss over it. I freaked out, I lashed out, by, like, being violent and yelling and screaming and breaking stuff and punching holes in the wall. Like, that's a lot.
It got so bad that the rest was constantly talking about the same things over and over, and no sleep and depression, that most of my hair started to fall out, and Emily started to hurt herself while we were in Japan.
I'm not going to comment on that.
As the time happened, I was a massive wreck. Couldn't think straight,
And then you hurt everybody else. You're like, I don't feel sorry for you at all. Because you hurt other people in the process. Like, see, like, I would totally have absolute sympathy for this if you weren't hurting other people and manipulating and taking advantage of other people left and right while you were in this situation. But the truth is that, like, whenever, like, I can have sympathy for an individual, but you lose that sympathy whenever you then become an aggressor on top of them. And we see this a lot where people try to say that they were in a bad place. Oh, well, things weren't going so well for me, so I guess I had to act this way, or, oh, I acted out. Well, the thing is that when you act out and you treat a person like your personal stress ball, how do you think that makes that other person feel? And so, really, this is kind of what I was saying before. You remember that I always talk to you guys about with, like, misplaced empathy, right? Always misplaced empathy. This is misplaced empathy. If anybody is looking at this and listening and feeling sorry for him, rather than all the people that he negatively affected, the people that he lied about, the people that he demonized, the abuse that other people had to go through, the yelling, the, you know, like the indirect violence, punching holes in the wall, etc. It's misplaced, yeah, right. But this is taking advantage of, like, you know how many times people have been mean to me? And how many times, like, I've been harassed? Like, whenever I said, like, for example, like, that Palestine shit, there were, like, 3 interpersonal things that were happening in, like, my personal life that were, like, really, really fucking tough, and I was, like, extremely stressed. Like, one of them was my dad's superior in health, the other 2 I don't want to talk about. You know what I did the next day? I came on there, I said, my bad, I fucked up, I shouldn't have said that, it's completely my fault, there's no excuse. That's it. It doesn't matter. Like, if you have a bad day, and then you hurt somebody else, you're a bad person. That's it. It really, that's... And if you want to, because it was a mistake, I shouldn't have said that, right? Everybody makes mistakes. People fuck up. But it's like also, he never really took accountability for this at all until this happened. Taking accountability for their actions without lasting on others. Yeah, and that's the way, by the way, that's the way normal people behave. You owned it? Yeah, exactly. It's like I say all the time, like, once you start making use of free will over, I say you can lie to every single person in the world except for one person. You never lie to me. You never lie to yourself. Never lie to yourself. Once you do that, you're out of your mind.
Dana ever hung out with me all day.
Literally zero sense. zero sympathy because I've had to deal with shit that's like way worse than this multiple times. Like you can look at in terms of like mentions and like Twitter mentions and everything, like the amount of damage that, like on an average, like Mizkif getting canceled back then, that happens to me every month. Really, like, and you can look at the graph and you'll see this is true.
Pichu started to become high strung.
And even I could do better. I'm not perfect.
We would yell at each other, fight, argue all the time. Things we never once did. I felt this relationship was taking a huge drain. But I thought it could be over time. These things were just so amazing that first year. But I'm so gay. But as we stayed around longer, I started resenting her a lot more. You can take it out of remote only mode. Emeru has a lot of rabbits. It was her calling when she first moved in. These were a big part of her life. But as those rabbits moved out of the room into the living room, they started to see disgusting neglect. No food, no water.
So he let this whole thing happen. Like, assuming all this is true, he let this happen. Like, that's a best case scenario, he let all this happen.
Sometimes not having clean bedding for the feet. I, along with many others who would come over, would give them what they needed, and I would tell her all the time to take care of them, but to no avail. She completely neglected those rabbits. So much that many of them just died over 1 year of being around in my house. My cleaning lady would clean them just because they felt terrible. And my brother once came over and said, and I quote, "If you ever marry this woman, I'll never forgive you." Here's a video up close of Emeru's rabbits. These are small little mice that are inside the rabbit.
The rabbit in this video.
And she didn't care. She completely neglected these animals, and I'm not going to sit around and let people say that she didn't. People who came to my house knew that they were neglected. This is an up-close view of the rabbit cage, being completely disgusting and neglected. She left them to die, and I'm not going to sit here and have her pretend she didn't. It's fucking disgusting.
Do not succumb to the chaos.
If she's neglecting the animals, then why aren't they dying with the new house? If Emeru is the problem, she's neglecting these animals, then why are there no dead rabbits in the new house? Why are there no dead rabbits? Why are there no rabbits? This is a video. When was the video called?
This is a video from my own brother. I didn't record it. These are mice all around the
How would he know if they aren't dying at her house now? So you think she's abusing them in her house now too? You think somebody with like a proven track record of lying, trying to misrepresent things, being abusive, is out of all the things, telling the truth about the one thing that in every other situation isn't true, except for this one 15-second video. Like, you really have to, again, like this is a mountain versus a mole. You're not even thinking about it.
I would tell her to take care of them all the time to no avail. She completely neglected her rabbits.
So without you the match, it looks like the started betting was thrown away. No, it's not.
No time to rest.
It's a 15-second video with not even a single, zoom out, contextualized, anything. And the rabbits aren't even there.
Much that many died to stay for a year or two of being around in my house. My cleaning lady was cleaning them because they felt bad, and my brother once came over and said that if I married her, I'd never forgive her. In fact, in my opinion, during my cancellation, she actually commented on Emeru's rabbits and said, "These rabbits are completely neglected, and this is disgusting." Emeru wouldn't clean the cages, and the smell became so bad that we started to have the rabbits just be outside. I told her if that's the case, she's got to make sure she's giving them water, because they are her responsibility. Instead, the rabbits were left outside in 100 degree heat with no food or water or anything.
I can't comment on what my
Most of the time, being in cages with no bed beside poop all over me. Emmy didn't care. She would sit inside of her League of Legends all day. And what this showed me is that I don't want her to be my children's mother, and I couldn't see myself marrying her.
Which is the reason why you texted her 40 times after this, after she left. And you, like, chat GPT potentially, you know, things about how you wanted to get married to her, and you told multiple other people that you thought that you were going to get married. You just lied. You just lied. Like, that's all there is to it. Yeah, and it also makes, like, the thing is, like, him saying, I don't think he realizes this, but it also makes Russell and Simply look really bad, too. Which are, like, two people that are getting AoE'd by this, that he just doesn't even consider the way that they feel at all. And I think that really that's another example of an entire pattern that we're all seeing here, is that Russell and Simply now are being, because they live in this house, and they were also complicit with, theoretically, these animals being mistreated. So you see how quickly he just throws people under the bus, even his own friends.
The fight between each time started to get worse. I would constantly want to be farther and farther. I would use her for content, but after streams would want to be alone. I didn't know how to break up with her, or anything. She was a co-owner of my org, the only person I knew, and the strain of the relationship and hiding the relationship was really taking a toll on me. On top of that, the stalkers were getting worse. One stalker came to my house, and I had to point a gun at him for 30 minutes until the cops came. These stalkers are no big joke, and the pressure from the relationship, the anger I felt, and the stalkers as a whole really made us lash out at each other. She would tell me that she doesn't realize it was like the stalker.
Like, yeah, you had stalkers as an issue, etc. This is what happened, right? That's why you have security. I mean, and also, like, by the way, it's like, this is like, don't buy a bird if you don't want the bird to make bird sounds. This girl had stalkers in Kansas. You invite her to Austin, and then you complain that she has stalkers there too. Like, why would you expect that not to continue? You see what I'm saying? So, like, you're now guilt-tripping her for the thing that you promised her that you would prevent happening. It's like you didn't expect it? Yeah. From our stalkers? No, I mean, I don't know. Like, again, if you guys ever noticed that I've never talked about any sort of privacy or security things about myself ever. Ever. It's because I don't want to farm. Like, I could do that and maybe farm sympathy or some other bullshit. Like what Miz did on that pier, releasing that story about Emeru's stalker acting like he was the hero when it was actually Bonnie that went out there and confronted the person. So, it's just bullshit. Like, it just makes things worse. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, really, it's again... Yeah, obviously, I bet it was really stressful, but, like, I think that he's using this again to obfuscate and to... What's the way to say it? To kind of muddy the waters between the hostilities between them. He's basically trying to shift a relationship where he was the aggressor and the abuser, at least allegedly, right? I've got to say this for legal reasons. Allegedly, the aggressor and the abuser towards Emeru, and shift this into we were both wrong.
Fight harder.
When it's like, actually, it seems like, and by the way, everybody else, keep in mind, everybody else, nobody's backed him up on it. No other creator has backed him up on it. Nobody's taken his side. A lot of his own, even his old roommates, his old friends, his old girlfriends, nobody's taking his side.
She's doing that she didn't understand what she was doing wrong. But I was constantly telling her on and off screen that she needs to do more because these stalkers are getting worse. I know I love her tone throughout this entire relationship. I know I love you. And I was blessed with her. In regards to being controlled, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole.
Why would you tell her to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole when you went live and then you told a story that was her private story that wasn't public about stalkers and schizos? Against her company.
Stop talking about past relationships. And yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. This is because I didn't want her to get hurt. I didn't want anyone to get assaulted. I didn't want somebody to feel I'm out there, and I wanted to keep her safe. And I know how my mental was and who I was back then, that I didn't do everything right. I know I said that.
Well, I mean, that's like kind of it's really kind of minimizing it, right? I didn't do anything. I didn't do everything right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know I was wrong, and I could have ended the fucking relationship, but I was so confused as a person. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The last 9 months of this relationship, things got extremely fucking toxic. I told her to move out. She didn't move out on her own. I told her to move out.
This is the things got toxic. You see what I'm saying?
Wanted space, but she still wanted me around at all times. She would get upset if we didn't sleep together, or if we weren't around. She always wanted me to drive her.
Keep in mind, like, ever since this happened, there have been 2 additional people that have assaulted them within less than 24 hours of this stuff coming out. And not a single person that was in the space that knew him was really defending him.
But I never wanted to because I wanted to be alone. And then I treated that right. But this
wasn't. He hasn't been investigated for all I understand this is I understand because you're a fan of Miz and you like Miz and you want to act that bad. Well, some of this stuff might not be true. Even if half of it's true. Like, I don't know why, like, you should read something and see it based off of that. You read everything Imran says because he's a friend? This is a fucking screenshot. This is a screenshot. She's got dozens of people saying, yeah, this is what happened. There are other, and I will say too, I know people get mad at me for this. There are other stories of things that will be points on the same graph, making the same line.
Triumph! The world is cleansed once more.
stalkers continued, and I got even more stressed.
I said it last time. People got mad. They said I was vague posting. I'm being serious.